founder of Chequered Flag Motorsport. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, Andrea.
Hi. You have simply an amazing story. Well, can you please introduce yourself, your story, and how you got to create Chequered Flag Motorsport?
Indeed, thank you very much. My story goes back to 1984, where I'm going to give my age away here now. As a fit and healthy 31-year-old, I had the misfortune to suffer a hemorrhagic stroke, which is essentially a burst blood vessel on the brain. That left me paralysed and unable to walk and talk, and literally had to learn to do all that again. After that, my whole life was turned upside down. I had 2 years of recovery where I didn't work. During that particular period, my marriage fell apart. So I literally, as I say, had to restart again, had to try find a career, re-establish my life without my wife. I had 3 young children at the time. I lost my home, I lost my career, I lost everything, and literally had to start from scratch. I got great support from the stroke community, and I'd always wanted to do some fundraising. But not being an adventurous sort, I'm not into throwing myself out of aeroplanes or hiking up mountains or anything like that. So it had to be something a little bit more sedate. And I never really found anything. And then I bounced around from job to job, never really establishing the career that I had before, but was more concerned about making a living and supporting my family. In 2019, I was made redundant from the job I was in at the time and found myself with time on my hands and a little bit of money. And it was just prior to lockdown and was starting to go crazy, and my mental health was suffering because I was at home bouncing around with no real direction in my life. So I revisited this idea of fundraising, not really knowing what I was going to do, but purely by chance happened to visit a motor racing manufacturer who had a top-of-the-range motor racing simulator to train professional drivers, such as Le Mans drivers and GT drivers. And I came away from that absolutely blown away. Having a love of motorsport as a fan, I was blown away by that facility and thought there must be somebody somewhere who will do something for me on a smaller scale that I can take round to events and do my own sort of small business networking event based around a motor racing simulator, and use that to raise funds for charities and good causes. I found somebody who would go along with me on that, a manufacturer who built me a simulator, and unfortunately I got all that ready just as the pandemic hit. So being events-based, obviously, I couldn't really do anything on that, but was getting great take-up from the charities who were hearing about what I was doing. So I was using that time to get the message out there of who I was, my personal background, and you say my own story, and what my vision was for Chequered Flag Motorsport in raising funds for charities and good causes. So I was getting approached by all sorts of charities, both local and national. So I work with Dementia UK. I obviously work with the stroke charities, different strokes and the Stroke Association. I work with a couple of Sheffield-based charities, PACES that deals with neurological illnesses, particularly in children, but it's now moving into adult care, and support dogs that provides alert dogs for people with autism, dementia, and all those sorts of things. And the message was getting out there far and wide, and it was great stuff. And then I came across a group of amputees who I was just blown away by their mental ability to carry on despite the setback they had had. I mean, their message was essentially, we've lost a limb, not our lives. And they were carrying on and overcoming the difficulties that were put in front of them. And we're an absolutely amazing group of people and were so motivated. And I came away just inspired by them and their drive and determination to carry on with their life and not to let it stop them doing the things that they wanted to do. So I said, look, I have access to this professional motor racing simulator. Would you like to go, or any of you into motorsport? And a couple of them said, yes, we're really into it. So I took them, and there were amputees there with one leg racing on this motor racing simulator, which is as close as you're going to get to having a real experience of driving a race car around a track. Came away and they were blown away by it. And one of them said to me, Gary, that was awesome. We never thought we'd be able to do anything like that. But what would really be the ultimate was if you could get me behind the wheel of a racing car. Now, to somebody like me, that was a challenge. So I went away and I started looking at how I could get a group of amputees into a racing car, even if it was only to do a track event, not particularly to take part in racing. And I started talking to them and found out that for them, that was improving their well-being, giving them the opportunity to do something they always wanted to do. As a community, they were so used to being told, no, you can't do something, whatever that happened to be. And they just wanted to have the same opportunities and be treated in the same way as, and I say this in the nicest possible way as normal people. They didn't want to be separated and told you can't do something because of this particular disability or because you've lost a limb or whatever it happened to be. And I started investigating, and I thought, well, if it's improving their well-being, what can I put together? Because I'd also found out that motorsport at the moment is very much regarded as a positive for people with autism or on the autism spectrum. So I thought, what can I do? What can I put together that will help these people? So I came up with a 5-tier program, which was a recent change in direction for Chequered Flag Motorsport, away from being purely a fundraiser to being a provider of experiences for the non-neurodiverse and disabled and less privileged communities, to help them reintegrate, rehabilitate, and to improve their general well-being. And that 5-tier program ranges from, depending on a person's own desire in terms of motorsport and their own physical ability. At the bottom end, we do Formula One factory tours and we do museum tours related to motorsport. We then have I've got to try to remember all these now. We then have a second tier, which is purely and simply the simulator events. So I still have the Chequered Flag Motorsport simulator. As I say, we do have access to simulators at professional motor racing teams used to train Le Mans drivers and GT racers. Wow. We then have track days where people can take part as a passenger or as a driver in a car that we provide. We then have supported like holiday package tours where we take people to prime motorsport events such as British Grand Prix, Le Mans 24 Hours, and they're taken on a support basis. So they're benefiting from having a little bit of independence away maybe from their normal environment and to sample the same sort of things that normal people would do, yet they're able to do that in a supported environment with the correct medical care and with a personal friend of theirs or a carer or support worker, whoever they happen to need with them. So hopefully they're getting the best of both worlds in that. And then we were looking for something to be the pinnacle. And I'd already looked into this, doing track days for amputees, and we thought, well, somebody actually suggested to me, why don't you buy your own racing car? So what we're actually in the process of doing is we're actually looking for a racing car to enter a racing championship. And it's not going to be top level, but we're looking to run it as a scholarship program where we're going to offer a funded drive or funded drives to hopefully a group of 6 people from that community that we represent. So that could be non-neurodiverse, physically disabled or less privileged. To have the opportunity to race, that we're going to do that. So that's going to be hopefully the pinnacle of our 5-tier program, and hopefully anybody from those communities can fit in and benefit from what we are offering. So that's been a long-winded way, apologies, Andrea, of me giving you my story and telling you how Chequered Flag started and the slight change that we've gone through now in Chequered Flag Motorsport and who we're trying to help.
Well, I think it's very noble and it's truly inspiring. Now, well, I've been on the website recently and there is a new mission. Can you tell us more about it?
As I say, it came about as the slight change away from being a traditional fundraiser, which is what I set out to do, to purely by accident now having this 5-tier program and a desire and a realization that through motorsport it is possible to provide well-being and help a range of people who at the end of the day only want similar opportunities to everybody else.
Absolutely. Well, where do you see Chequered Flag Motorsport in 2 years? And what do you think you would need to reach this objective?
I would like to be in a position to offer that pinnacle element of the scholarship and the racing program. Although I have to say, as there are a couple of race teams that I'm aware of out there who do already provide racing opportunities for disabled drivers, but they are first and foremost racing teams. Okay. That is their aim. They're there to win. In our case, I don't see that as being our primary objective. Yes, we all like to win, or else there's no point taking part. But if we don't win, that's not what it's about for Chequered Flag Motorsport. It's about giving opportunities to these people to take part and giving them an experience that, as they keep telling me, we never thought we'd have this experience. It's amazing that we're getting this opportunity. And that's it for me. So to be able to offer that, I think, would be excellent and would be great for me in terms of my personal goals and my personal objectives for Chequered Flag Motorsport. In achieving that, obviously, even though I'm not talking top tier, we're not talking single seat racing here. We're talking the very lower echelons of club racing and tin top saloon car racing. It's still an expensive sport to be involved in at whatever level you are.
Yes.
Obviously there's a cost involved with that. I think through what Chequered Flag Motorsport stands for what we're representing, and for the people we're working with, and the exposure we are getting, there are amazing opportunities there for businesses to be involved with us and to benefit from that exposure, not only in the traditional motorsport way of here's a logo on a race car, but other traditional motorsport benefits that we can give them, such as hospitality at race meetings. We can have the race car at their events. Plus the exposure, such as I'm talking to yourself today, Andrea, the exposure we're getting through the press, the media, and also I have to say through television. There's an opportunity there for any potential, and I won't call them sponsors, because whoever I work with, I don't class them as a sponsor, I class them as a partner. And any business or individual we work with, it is a partnership. We're there to help each other. Therefore, I do not class them as sponsors supporting this venture. We're all in it together. They are partners.
Well, Gary, it's been amazing. Thank you very much. Now, if you want to know more about Chequered Flag Motorsport or contact directly Gary, please follow the website link. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrea.